Thank you very much, Benjamin. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Commonwealth Students Association International Students Day celebration. We are celebrating this virtually. My name is Lovanka Dodson. I am the co-chairperson of the International Students Day Planning Committee from Papua New Guinea. Tonight we have some very important people here with us. We have our chairperson for the Commonwealth Students Association, Benjamin Fraser. We also have our representatives, Mohammed Ifraz Ali from Fiji, Anna Malia from the Kingdom of Tonga, Nelson Kokoa from Papua New Guinea, as well as Chris Silivia from Nauru. So before we actually start our live, a huge welcome to our hosts and our participants. Just a quick brief to our participants. If you could please turn off your cameras. If you have your camera on, please turn it off. The only people that should have their cameras on should be our panelists. So if you do have your camera on, please turn it off, as well as make sure to mute yourself. Thank you very much. So first of all, once again, welcome everyone. This year's International Students Day is about student activism in the Asia Pacific region. Right now, we have a Pacific region celebration happening here. Thank you all for joining us. We're focusing on four main pillars of student activism, which is advocating for one, quality education, two, civic engagement, three, freedom of speech, as well as four, cultural diversity. Once again, I would like to tell the participants, please put your cameras off. If you are not a panelist, please put your cameras off. The only people that should be having their cameras on are panelists. Thank you very much. Our other panelists have just joined us. Bradley Yombonkopio, welcome to the chat. Thank you, Bradley. So we'll start off. First, I'd like to show you all a brief overview of the importance of student activism in today's world, particularly in the Pacific region. So allow me to, apologies, Benjamin, could you please make me the host once more so I could show the participants on.
Lavanka, let me give you a bit of help here.
Yes, please. Thank you. So can everyone not hear the video?
No, we're not.
Apologies.
Naka, Malawa Lele, Afiamai. Welcome to a celebration of diversity and student activism. On this day, International Students' Day, the Commonwealth Students Association spotlights the Asia Pacific region under the theme Student Activism. Now, amongst our tapestry of cultures that adorn our global academic landscape, we gather not just as learners, but as advocates for change. As we reflect on the significance of this day, International Students' Day, let us recognize the transformative power of diverse perspectives and the pivotal role that student activism plays in shaping a more inclusive and equitable future for us all.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley. I'm the Australian Committee Member for the International Students' Day Planning Committee, and welcome to a celebration of diversity and student activism. You might be wondering, what is International Students' Day? Well, International Students' Day falls on the 17th of November. This date is significant due to events that happened against students in Prague in World War II. For this event, we'll be focusing on the Asia Pacific with its rich, diverse backgrounds, languages, perspectives, and cultural significance. We hope this event will be a melting pot of cultures where we can learn and grow from each other's works within the student activism space. This event will not only be important to share such an important day with everyone, but to also come together as a region to learn about each other's experiences and grow from that.
Sorry about the technical glitches, everyone, but we'll be sure to share it afterwards. Go ahead, Lavanka.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. Once again, welcome to our panelists as well as our participants. Thank you very much for joining us tonight or today, wherever you are. So I'll start by introducing our panelists for tonight. First, we have with us Christopher Silvia. Christopher Silvia is originally from the Kingdom of Tonga. Christopher, please raise your hand so our participants know who you are. Thank you. So Christopher Silvia is originally from Tonga. He is a versatile professional currently residing in Nauru. He holds a bachelor's degree in law, currently at the University of the South Pacific Nauru campus. He also specializes in politics and international affairs. Christopher's professional journey started in his family's practices, where he provided cutting-edge ICT services to various entities, including personal businesses, government departments, and organizations. Currently, he plays a key role in the Legal Administration Department at the University of the South Pacific. His leadership skills are shown through his in-country assistance to the Vice Chancellor of the University of the South Pacific in Nauru, where he has successfully managed high-profile responsibilities. In the realm of his student leadership, he has also served as the president of the University Students Association of Nauru campus, and he also currently serves as the events program coordinator for the Miss Nauru organizing committee. Beyond his professional roles, Christopher also excels in policy creation and implementation. His multifaceted contributions from employment at the University of the South Pacific, as well as active involvement in the Miss Nauru organizing committee. Christopher, thank you very much for joining us. Our second participant comes from Fiji, Mohammed Ifraz Ali. Welcome, Mohammed. So to our participants, a little bit you need to know about our friend Mohammed. Mohammed Ifraz Ali is a remarkable student leader from Fiji who has been involved in various student activism projects and initiatives in the Pacific region. He's currently pursuing a Bachelor of Civil Engineering at the University of the South Pacific, and he's working as a student relations intern at the USP Students Association Federal Office. He also served in different positions at the USPSA Laukala branch, such as Vice President, Welfare and Developmental Officer, as well as the STEM undergraduate representative. He has a lot of expertise and experience in dealing with student relations and organizing on-campus events, as well as managing student leaders. Welcome, Mohammed Ifraz Ali. We're very happy to be here tonight. Our third panelist hails from the Kingdom of Tonga once again. Her name is Anna Malia. Anna Malia is a passionate advocate from Kingdom of Tonga. She is a remarkable young woman, and at just 20 years old, she currently holds a role as a board member, mentor, and youth ambassador for the Talita Project, Tonga, which is an NGO that is dedicated to empowering young women and girls. Anna Malia's journey with the Talita Project began in 2018 during an empowerment camp, which sparked her belief that she can contribute positive change in her community and beyond. In addition to her advocacy work, Anna Malia is also a student pursuing a Bachelor of Law at the University of the South Pacific as well, and she is grateful for the platforms and opportunities that she's had actively addressing issues faced by girls in the Kingdom of Tonga as well as the Pacific. Thank you, Anna Malia, for joining us. Our third panelist is from Papua New Guinea. His name is Nelson Kokoa. Nelson Kokoa is a dynamic and dedicated individual from PNG with a passion for leveraging art as a powerful tool for social change. He is a recent graduate from the University of Papua New Guinea with a bachelor's in science, majoring in chemistry. Nelson's journey in the realm of art activism began as a volunteer at The Voice Inc. His commitment to addressing societal issues through diverse forms of artistic expression has led him to co-found a movement known as the Art Activism PNG movement, where he currently serves as the director. In recognition of his impactful work, Nelson has also received numerous accolades, including being named the Clean Generation Ambassador by The Voice Inc. and honored as an Archer Leader by the Kokoda Tracks Foundation. His dedication to building a positive cultural dialogue is further evident in his co-authorship of the 2022 Lowy Institute Outcomes Report, which focuses on building the Australia PNG digital ecosystem. Thank you very much, Nelson, for joining us. And lastly, but definitely not the least, we have on board Bradley Ombonkopio. Welcome, Bradley. Bradley is a dental surgery graduate from the University of Papua New Guinea, the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences. He graduated in 2022. He was the Student Council President for UPNG in 2021. He's passionate about education and health and participates in various programs and awareness campaigns such as the PNG Cancer Foundation and the UNESCO with other developmental partners. Bradley is currently our Commonwealth Students Association Pacific Regional Representative, and he engages in numerous international events such as the 2022 Global People Summit, the UNESCO Report on Higher Education, and the Conference of Pacific Education Ministries. He is also an executive member of the Global Student Forum Steering Committee and the Commonwealth Alliance of Youth Entrepreneurs Pacific. He has a deep understanding of management and leadership, international engagements, project delivery, and governance. He has delivered small to large scale events, advocacy projects, and panel discussions on politically sensitive issues of national interest. Once again, welcome to all our amazing panelists. welcome to Christopher Silivia, Mohammed Ifraz Ali from PG, Anna Malia Falemaka from Tonga, Nelson Kokoa, and Bradley Yomonkopio from Papua New Guinea. And also welcome Chairperson for the Commonwealth Students Association, Benjamin. Thank you everyone. So we'll dive in straight to our panel discussion for the evening. The first question I'm going to ask is going to be posed to Christopher. So we heard a bit about Christopher's background, and I'd like Christopher to first answer the question that you have been involved in various projects and events that aim at enhancing the learning experience of students at the University of the South Pacific Nauru campus. Can you tell us more about some of these projects and events that you have had the honor of actually managing and how they reflect your vision and value as a student activist? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. First, I just want to say hi, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be in the presence of every one of you. Just hearing your background and the work that you're doing, I'm proud just to be in your presence and to have this wonderful conversation and see where this takes us. So regarding the question, first, I want to talk about my vision and my mission. Lavenga, of course, talked about how I am also in the University of the South Pacific Nauru campus Student Association. I serve as the president. And my passion and my vision for my team and for my term is that my vision is that everyone crosses the finish line. It does not matter what your age is, what your gender, your background, your family background, anything. What matters to me is that once you register and become a student of Nauru campus, you will cross the finish line, which also brings me to my mission. And my mission for our students at Nauru campus is to create a sense of belonging so that when they enroll and they register at our school, they feel that they belong there, which makes them want to come every day to our university and makes them enjoy their time while they're studying. But of course, there are ups and downs to everything, which is why my team and I have come up with a few projects and some events to just tackle some of the student grievances and everything. Just for some context, at Nauru campus, we roughly have about 100 to 200 plus students. Most of our students, 98% of our students are employed. I believe that this is a very different experience from other campuses, as most of their students are just, private students. They are either scholarships. But here in Nauru, our students are very hardworking and they're all employed. And majority of our students are matured audience from about, let's say 30th to even 50th, our students here. And so having that difficulty and that aspect, we need to figure out how can we provide to this, to the demands and the needs of these specific students, because even here in Nauru, because it's a very small island and everybody knows everyone, it's amazing here. But so saying that, one of our issues that our students came up with was that they don't have transport to come to do their studies. They don't have transport to come and do their assignments at night. And of course, my first thought was, this is a small country. Everybody knows everybody. You can call your neighbor, you can call your cousin or your auntie to come and drop you off. But of course, I have to also realize that the reason why I'm in this position is to make sure that things like this does not hinder their contribution and their need to study. And also for context as well, Nauru does not have any form of public transportation because, like I said, it's a small country. Everybody knows everyone. You can just quickly call your auntie, call your friend, drop me off there, drop me off there. But there are specific students who probably when they call their auntie, they're not available to drop them off to school. So what my team and I, what we did was we initiated a little project that we called the Taxi Buddy. And it was fully funded by us, our committee. We looked for funds later, but what we did was we gave students the option, if they want to study, if they want to come at any time to USB campus, all they have to do is pick up the phone and dial, and then you can be picked up and dropped off. Of course, that came with its own challenges, having to cater to how many students who's being transported at one time, because we realized that this need was not just for a group of people, it was a lot. Majority of our students needed the transportation to come to school and did their studies and stuff. Of course, we thought, maybe they're just making this an excuse, because, if there's a way, if there's will, there's a way to do it. And we really were surprised to find out that our students really needed the taxi buddy option, which takes me back to my vision. And my mission is that whatever we can do, whatever my team and I can do to make sure that they cross the finish line, we'll be there to provide, which is why we came up with the project of the taxi buddy. But there's also one that we did for USB campus. There's, of course, our policies, and the policy says that for you to be provided face-to-face lectures, there has to be a certain number. Has to be, I think the minimum is probably 15 or 25. I believe Mohammed can touch on that later on, the exact amount of students that needs to be before we can provide face-to-face. And here in Nauru campus, you'll find that like one course has about 2 people or 3 people. So we don't really qualify to have the face-to-face option. And the university has really done a great job with trying to make sure we get access to the face-to-face option, which they provide peer mentoring sessions and things like that, lecture recordings. But at the end of the day, our students still need more. Because I usually say what works for Fiji or what works for Tuvalu, what works for Solomon might not work for my students here in Nauru campus. So we try our best to listen and hear them out because they're the ones going through this. And of course, as students as well, we know what they're coming from and we try our best. So what we tried to do is we reached out to our alumni. And in addition to the taxi buddy, we also did something called the Alumni Study Buddy, where we reached out to our alumni and we asked our alumni, can you please help out? What we can provide is, light refreshment. We can provide water, but what we need from your end is your time and your dedication to the student. And a lot of our alumni, they were really into it. And, we had to tell the students, if you need extra help, especially now that exams are coming up and everything, what you need to do is email us, send us an email, send us a message, give us the name of your course, and we'll try to find an alumni for you. So we've already told all the alumni that, we have this idea and they were all down for it. But the majority of our students only this type of field. They wanted just this, the science, because the majority of our students is science and law. So the alumni from the engineering part, when are we getting our chance? And I'm like, don't worry, it'll come around. Maybe not this time, but next time around. Those are just some of the projects that we've done. I haven't really talked about the events. I'm not sure if I can keep talking or if I can give the time for anyone, because I can talk for as long as I can. And but I understand that timing is everything. Here it's currently 11:27. And as you can see the dress on my side, I'm currently not at USB, but my other workplace. I'm at the Miss Nauru organizing committee. So everyone has left. And I said, okay, just give me this time. So please let me know if I need to just give the floor to someone else to take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris. Wonderful experiences that you have shared. We really appreciate it. And thank you for giving a very realistic example as well. Very much appreciated. Thank you for talking about the Nauru, Ms. Nauru planning committee as well. I will ask you a question about that later on. But for now, we'll move on to Ifaz. Ifaz, once again, another amazing student activist that we have on board. I want to talk about student activism and civic engagement when it comes to Ifaz. As a student leader, you've been actively involved in various projects and events, including the Pacific Conference on Governance, as well as the Pacific Youth Summit in 2022. How do you believe that those experiences have contributed to you fostering civic engagement amongst the students in PG?
Hello everyone. My name is Ifraz. First of all, thank you for having me. Yeah, as Chris mentioned, in the Pacific, it's actually 11:29 here in PG. Still awake. I'm quite eager actually to speak to all of you here. So yeah, going back to your question about civic engagement and student activism by being part of the Pacific Conference on Governance and especially the Youth Summit. So I'll just start with some facts actually. The Pacific Youth Summit in 2022, there's actually two Pacific Youth Summits organized by our USPSA projects department. The first one was in 2021, and then the second one was in 2022. So collectively, both youth summits actually were, I mean, in fact, it was organized in a hybrid, both youth summits actually reached about 5,000 or more people throughout the Pacific. That includes the 12 member countries, which are part of USP. So there, there goes the advocacy and the reach towards our students actually. And one of the important factors of advocacy is how you reach the message. How do you actually advocate to reach the message out to your audience? And I think USPSA, with its methods of this hybrid, organizing events in a hybrid mode, actually, assisted in reaching to a wide range of audience. And the Pacific Conference on Governance, it's actually a build-up of many of the USPSA's project on anti-corruption and the Pacific Conference in Governance, I think where I met Bradley for the first time, Bradley and also Luther, the president from UPNG. And I think they can share more on the Pacific Conference on Governance as well. So something really groundbreaking happened at the Pacific Conference on Governance, where USPSA projects team managed to initiate a youth advisory board, which is directly affiliated to PIFS, the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat. Now, the responsibility of this Pacific Youth Advisory Board serves as a direct link to advocate youth voices to our leaders of the Pacific. So I think that's something really groundbreaking and remarkable for us Pacific Islanders. And I think that's all about from that I can give you from these two events that have been part of.
Thank you very much, Ifraz, and thank you as well to Bradley for giving us the opportunity to have you on board to speak to us as a panelist. Such an honor. We'll get back to Ifraz once again. I'm sure everyone wants to hear from all our panelists tonight. The next question that I'm going to ask will be going to Anna Malia. Anna Malia is with us tonight. I have read Anna Malia's biography before. Might I note that Anna Malia is the only female panelist we have tonight. Thank you very much, Anna Malia. Anna Malia, your first question is basically reflecting on your advocacy journey. Your journey with the Talita project began in 2018 during an empowerment camp. I'd just like for you to share what was a pivotal moment for you that you experienced that basically solidified your commitment to say, I want to participate in student activism, or I want to be a student activist. Thank you, Anna Malia.
Thank you very much. Malolele, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly from your end. And I do apologize that my camera is not turned on. And that's not because I'm already in my pajamas because it's after midnight here on my end, but because earlier I had some connectivity issues. So I thought it would be best to just keep it offline in terms of having my message clearly delivered. But yes, thank you once again for the opportunity to be amongst very impressive panelists here. And with your question, my journey, as you stated, began back in 2018. But before that, as a kid growing up here in Tonga, I always knew, even as a little kid, that one of my main goals in life and dreams for the future was to become a change in my family, my community, and also in Tonga. I know for such a young kid at the time, it's a very big dream. But yeah, to be honest, I've always grew up having that dream, and I think it was because of two main reasons. One, because I grew up seeing both my parents heavily involved in, charity work and church organization. And I think the other main reason was just based on lived experiences and things that I saw in my society. And so being, a kid at that time and having such a dream, I constantly was praying for an opportunity to, to make that dream a reality. And I think the opportunity again provided itself back in 2018 when an invitation came from the Talitha projects to my school to for young students, young female students, to participate in an empowerment camp that they had. I grew up and currently is living in my home village, Lapaha, and Lapaha here in Tonga is one of the rural villages in the main island, Tongatapu. I think it's something that I don't know if we find it similar across, the other Pacific countries, but, with rural communities, there's very few opportunities that do come our way. And so when this opportunity did come, we, myself as well as some of my friends who participated in the camp were very much excited. It was the first of its kind, for us to hear about. And we were honestly just very curious about how were we going to be empowered from this camp. And so we participated in this camp, and, noting on my introduction, Talitha Project is an NGO here in Tonga that works specifically into empowering young women and girls through educational sessions. They have these empowerment camps. And so it was through this camp that really I literally opened my eyes to see the various issues that that we are facing here, not only here in Tonga, but as well here in our Pacific region. And I think that was the pivotal moment for me that really, sparked my passion to continue keeping in touch with Talitha and the work that they do, from becoming a participant in their programs to eventually becoming a mentor and having the opportunity to, to run the programs for other girls that were coming up is a blessing to myself. And yeah, I hope that answers your question. But yeah, that was the moment that really, for me, was the moment that I knew that this was the opportunity that I need to, to take in order to become that change that I had said before was my dream as a kid. So thank you very much.
very much, Anna Malia. Beautifully answered. I'll move on to our next panelist, Nelson Kokoa. Nelson, your journey involved a significant shift from programs officer at the Voice Inc. with a background in chemistry, and then moving on to art activism PNG. Can you share with us the pivotal moment for you that led to that decision and the impact that you hope art activism PNG would make?
Thanks, Lovanka, for that question. Again, thank you for that wonderful introduction in the beginning. It's nice to be reminded of the small wins, and yeah, just use it as fuel to as fuel and as motivation to achieve more. It's really nice to meet all the other panelists. I've already met Bradley and Anna Malia, but it's really nice to meet you, Chris and Mohammed. And I'm really looking forward to tonight's discussion. Yeah, so before answering the question, I'd like to give a bit of context about The Voice Inc. So The Voice Inc. is a dynamic youth development organization that equips young people and citizens of Papua New Guinea with the tools to be nation builders. And it leads a nationwide movement called the Clean Generation Movement, which supports citizens to find their voice and build a sustainable future. I was a Clean Generation, well, I became a Clean Generation member when I was at the University of Papua New Guinea. And my introduction to this organization and this movement called Clean Generation came through a program called the DREAM Program, which is a transformative initiative designed to help young people discover their sense of purpose. So as a Clean Generation member during my university years, the DREAM program became an integral part of my journey. At that point in my life, I had no clear direction, and I grappled with the uncertainty of where I wanted to go in life. And the DREAM program compelled me to delve into my passions and discover a purpose that resonated with my innermost convictions. So the impact of the DREAM program was nothing short of transformative. It provided a framework for aligning my passions with a broader sense of purpose and ultimately leading me towards the realm of community service. The notion that my actions could contribute meaningfully to the well-being of others ignited a sense of responsibility and commitment within me. So this newfound purpose drew me deeper into the folds of this organization called The Voice Inc. and its commitment to empowering young people and being of service to the citizens of Papua New Guinea. That really resonated with me. Recognizing the potential for positive change through community engagement. I dedicated the remainder of my university years to volunteering with The Voice Inc. and spearheading Clean Generation programs in diverse communities in Port Moresby, the capital. So my involvement with The Voice Inc. during my university studies was not confined to volunteering alone. As a Clean Generation leader responsible for orchestrating programs at my university, I found myself navigating the intersection of my academic pursuits and community engagement. It was during this period that the symbiosis between my major in chemistry and my role in community service became apparent. I realized that combining my science background with community work surprisingly worked well together. Skills I learned from The Voice Inc., like organizing, leading, managing projects, went beyond just one area. Beyond the confines of a laboratory, I discovered that the capacity to effect change, communicate effectively, and lead with a vision, all vital skills that would later shape my professional trajectory. This diverse skill set played a pivotal role in securing my position as a program officer with The Voice Inc. straight out of university, which I believe is an achievement because most graduates in PNG struggle to secure jobs after university. it became evident that the holistic development focused on my involvement with the organization was not only instrumental in my career path, but also extended its influence to various other roles and engagements during my university years. So my journey from a chemistry major to a program officer marked an important shift in perspective. It showed transformative power of community service and untapped potential with individuals to drive positive change. The lesson learned from the voicing became the cornerstone of my professional identity and emphasized the idea that true fulfillment lies in contributing to a larger cause than oneself. So the culmination of all of these experiences set the stage for a momentous decision, which is the inception of Art Activism PNG. This initiative was conceived as a testament to the agency and power that I had come to realize through my association with The Voice Inc. Art Activism PNG stands at the intersection of three of my passions: storytelling, youth empowerment, and art. The decision to delve into the realm of art as a tool for social change was not arbitrary. It was deliberate. It was a deliberate choice. And I strongly believe that the essence of Art Activism PNG lies not just in its mission, but in its potential to inspire a generation of young individuals to recognize their agency and actively participate in shaping the future. So yeah, the Art Activism PNG movement serves as a testament to the idea that one's passion, when aligned with your sense of purpose, can be a catalyst for meaningful contributions to society. So I keep blabbing, but going from The Voice Inc. to Art Activism PNG really shows how important it is to follow your purpose and your passion. It shows the importance of recognizing one's agency to effect change and contribute meaningfully to nation building. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Lovenka.
Thank you very much, Nelson. I think you answered a lot of questions that came to mind when you were speaking. Very informative. Thank you so much. And I can attest to what Nelson's saying because I have also gone through the same program that he has, the DREAM program, and I am also a student leader under that same institution. Amazing institution, and it's so great that Nelson turned out like this. And I'm proud of that. Our next question goes to Bradley Omonkopio. Bradley, you are currently the Commonwealth Students Association Pacific Regional Representative. You've been involved in various international engagements, including the 2022 Global People Summit, as well as the UNESCO report on higher education. I'm wondering, Bradley, how do you see the intersectionality or the connection? How do you see the connection between student activism in the Pacific and global initiatives?
Good night, everyone. Malolele, Bula, hello, Geta, Mary, wherever you're watching from. Chris, Nelson, Efrays, and of course, Anna. Yes. Privileged to share the panel with you guys. I'm sorry, I must apologize. I've come under the weather a little. I've been unwell since yesterday, but I've mustered all the strength that I have to actually join in and be a part of this discussion and this panel. So thank you, Lovey. To answer your question, I'm not going to use sickness as an excuse, but yeah, a lot comes to mind, especially within, I guess, if I'm going to put things into context, especially with the student movement within the Pacific. I've learned a lot about the student movement in the Pacific. I think a lot of my activity in terms of student activism and advocacy and participation in something as small as programs or campaigns for campaigns, protests, whatever that students can champion. I can't stress enough the importance of the role of students within an institution. I think that should be paramount at first. And if with that in mind, I think I didn't realize that when I was coming up as a young student, first year, second year, I thought I was just there to go through the system, learn a bit of what I could in the course that I was studying, and then pass out through. But coming up as a student leader in the local context within my institution, and then realizing the network within the country, or in the interest of each of your countries, if you're from Fiji, and the need for student mobilization within the country to champion issues of national importance, or in Nauru, or in Tonga. And I guess a lot of the issues that students face within the context of the Pacific are very similar, with challenges that we face. And so I guess those issues being similar, and the commonality in the issues or the struggles of students, and then in the Pacific, where you have regional issues, the need for students and young people to mobilize and come together is greater, I think, now more than ever. Especially in the region, and I know if you're from the Pacific, you would know the Northern Pacific. I want to touch on what IFRA's actually pushed, and USP coming together to actually have a youth advisory board that would come under the and indirectly advising the Pacific leaders. And we just had the 52nd Pacific leaders meeting, where we had leaders not only from the Pacific but all across the world come together. And the Pacific has become, I think, a hotspot for a lot of people to come, world leaders, not only within the Pacific. And I guess that sort of reflects the issues that we face, and the interconnectedness of not only I don't want to go off topic, but in understanding the geopolitics and the interest in the Pacific, but the issues that we face, whether it's climate, and on education. We recently, I don't want to get too sensitive, but we had the issue of the Japanese nuclear plant and the nuclear waste being dumped, and those sort of issues which affect the Pacific. And I guess that's why it's so important for us to actually come together as a region, as young people, because a lot of these issues, we may be the Pacific, with a lot of islands, very small islands, developing countries, but the issues that affect the Pacific, a lot of these are, one, I would not want to say instigated or perpetuated or pushed, but we become, I feel like we carry the we're on the losing end of a lot of the issues, and we're not the ones to sort of instigate those issues. And so I feel like a lot of the issues, the most common one is of climate action and climate change, and we are on the losing end. So I feel like that's why a lot of the issues are interconnected, and that student activism is connected throughout the world, and the Pacific needs to be in the fold. So that's why I think my role as UCSA Pacific Regional Rep has been trying to get a lot of the students within the region together. Bit difficult to do given the context of the Pacific, the politics that's involved, the institutions, the separation and the geography, languages, cultural diversity. But we may be separated, as islands, but we're definitely connected by the ocean. And a lot of the issues that we face in the Pacific are common. And a lot of times it's difficult to come together. That's one thing I've come to accept. But it's very easy for students to actually come together. Because like I said, in the Pacific, it's not only the cultural diversity that separates us, it's the politics. You know, you have New Caledonia, a French colony, you know, different powers present in the region. So I think within that context, we see how global, I guess, influences and it's so important for us to be a part of the global community, and also more so understand ourselves better and come together. And I feel like students and young people can actually champion that, especially students within the institutions in and around the Pacific. And it's so easy to do that because there aren't a lot of universities in the Pacific. You have USP, and then you have the national universities. PNG has a bit more, but that's something that we definitely need to champion and come up with a regional body of sort. And there should be that connectedness, because everything that happens in the globe happens to affect the Pacific one way or another. Yeah. Lovey, I hope I didn't go off. I said I was a bit sick, but thank you.
Thank you very much, Bradley. Awesome answer. Thank you so much. It's very good that we have a lot of specific perspectives when we're talking with our other panelists, but especially when we come to Bradley, it's really good that we hear a more globally and politically sensitive approach to things, and that's something we can truly appreciate. I will give a bit of a reminder to our panelists. Please, let's try to minimize our talking time, maybe to, let's say, 3 minutes maximum. I love all your answers. They're amazing. I love all the experiences. I just wish we had more time to do all of this. But unfortunately, we do not. And I know it's very late for some of us on our ends over there. So the next question I'm going to ask is going to go to Chris once again. Really like the design you have behind you. Wonderful dress there, which leads me to ask you the next question, which is in relation to your commitment to the Miss Nauru organizing committee. My question is, how do you see the role of beauty pageants in promoting social and political change in our region?
Thank you for that question. This dress here, just for context, it was designed, hand printed by a local designer here. And I didn't want to move it. I thought it would be good to just showcase it here because it tells the whole story, but I only have 3 minutes, so I'll try my best to just talk through. So I just joined for the last pageant, the Miss Nauru Organizing Committee. I joined as their events program coordinator. And part of my job is, of course, to take care of the contestants, to help the team with the planning of the events, the programs and everything. But to touch base on your question, I think that most people have the assumption that beauty pageants is just about the looks. That is very far from the truth. It's beyond a glamorous event. This is an event that, it's a platform that we can use to dedicate our voices to amplifying other causes that we're passionate about, that the country is passionate about, and the reigning queen is passionate about. So for this year, our theme was based on saving our environment. And I just want to mostly talk about the reigning Miss Nauru and what she's done with this. So recently we did an interview for the Radio New Zealand, and they asked her, now that you have the crown, what do you want to do with it? And I was just sitting on the side. I wanted to hear what she was saying. And she said, I want to take the theme with me, the theme of saving our environment, because I believe that, I want to just add that with what Bradley said before, the issue of climate change, we are on the losing end. And so she is very passionate about climate change and how we can figure out ways, especially in countries like Nauru, we are really vulnerable to these changes and things like that. But if I can go back to how the Miss Nauru platform can bring about change politically and socially. So my idea of this is that a platform is like a torch. It is a torch that burns with passion. It burns with ideas and things that you want to do with this torch, basically. If we can personify this and put it into a thing that we can see and touch, the platform is like the torch. once we hand the torch to the new Miss Nauru or whoever Miss there is, what they'll do with the torch is they either light it up some more or it dies. So our plan for our Miss Nauru, and she's very dedicated to burning the torch with her advocacy for climate change and saving our environment. She'll be doing a lot of projects, of course. We're thinking of doing cleanups, and we're thinking of amplifying voices of the youth as well, because according to her, she says that youth are underestimated. People assume that because we're youth, we're young, and we can't make good choices. So she's also advocating to change the idea that us youths are still learning. We're in our 20s and we're supposed to have fun. We can have fun, but we also want to grow up in a world that has clean air, that has clean environments, and still has land for us to build and live on. So I think, just to sum up my answer for you, Lamenka, is that the Miss Nauru platform, or any pageant there is, it's beyond the idea that the beauty pageant is just for the looks and everything. It's so much more for that. Politically and socially, we can use this to amplify our voices. And of course, if I'm not taking up too much more time, I would like to just compare the pageants that we have in the Pacific and the ones we have overseas. So the ones that we have overseas, when I see it, it's more about promoting and preserving our cultures, because with our pageants, we have like talents competition. We have sections where we let them design and create island wares. I should have put the traditional wear beside me, but I didn't have the time, because so that everybody can see that, with these events, even though we're looking at it and we see these beautiful gowns and stuff, it's the way of preserving the culture and the knowledge and the wisdom behind these designs. There's a story. So we may not be explaining it as much, but just because, we're still doing it, the history lives on, the information lives on, the knowledge, the wisdom, and everything about Nauru here, of course, we're dedicated for, lives on. And then as opposed to, in addition to the Miss Nauru, we also have a little pageant, which is called the Miss Arweni. And they focus on the tribes here in Nauru. So there are a total of 12 tribes. And basically, it's the teens, the Miss Teens. And what they do is they, each tribe would bring in a representative to represent their tribe. And it's mostly about culture and everything. And because I've only been here for about 3-4 years, and the pageant, that's why I'm in it, because I've learned so much, not from the job experience, but just from the history and the events and, the history and everything that they're like showcasing. It's showcasing the culture, and it's just amazing that these stories will still continue to live on, and of course continue to contribute to the government, to the country, in a cultural sense and a social sense as well. Yeah, I think that's about it. If I keep on going, I'll probably take up someone else's time, and I don't want to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. That was absolutely great. Love your answer. I think we can all definitely attest to that. There's more than meets the eye when it comes to the Pacific, and beauty pageants it's one way of actually preserving our cultural identity as well as our cultural diversity, which is actually one of our advocacy points for this International Students' Day theme. So the next question goes to Ifraz. Ifraz, I want to talk to you about advocacy for quality education, which is something that is very familiar in your area. Given your role as the Welfare and Developmental Officer at your university, you were deeply involved in overseeing the welfare of a significant student population at the Lakala campus. What I want to know is, in what ways do you think your position allowed you to actually advocate for the enhancement of quality education in your area?
Hi. Are you able to hear me? It's raining pretty heavily here, so I think I might be having some network issues, but oh, okay, that's good. That's great. So in my tenure as the Welfare and Development Officer, relating to quality education at our campus in Laudala, firstly, I would like to say that students at the Laudala campus are quite privileged compared to the students at the other regional campuses. Laudala being the headquarters of USP, where we have advanced technologies, advanced learning experiences, thus allowing students to have generally from the start an environment of quality education. However, along the way, along their journey as students, some students face issues at times. Some are very petty issues, I'd like to say. Some are very important issues which need to be addressed. So what I used to do during my time as the welfare officer, I actually used to categorize the issues which the students are facing. Firstly, I always like to do my due diligence. So if a particular group of students, or let's say if one student comes and tells me about the issue, that they're having some sort of challenges learning in the classroom. And some of the challenges I'd like to mention is especially Pacific, since USP has 12 member countries, so Laudala campus, but just to give some context here, Laudala campus normally has around 13,000 to 15,000 students every semester. This about 13,000 students, and from that, 1/4 of the students are coming from the Pacific. And one thing about us Pacific people is that English is not our first language. So most of the courses that are delivered, not most, all of the courses which are delivered are in English language. So some students find it really hard to actually interpret what they're learning in class. So thus becomes the job, the duty, the responsibility of us student leaders to actually assist them in learning, in making life for them easier, and making understanding the deliverables of such courses easier. So we continuously engage with the university education department, the senior managements that are in charge of the education. And thankfully, our university has provided such platforms for student leaders to be involved in such decision making. So I'm really fortunate enough to be in such a university that allows for student voices, that actually, takes in grievances, and actually also allows student leaders to sit down and discuss together on how to come about, and having, solutions to those issues. So as mentioned, the problems with the English language. So one thing we've suggested is having peer mentoring sessions. So we have a section in our university called known as the Student Learning Services, and they offer English, extra English courses for the students to actually, understand much better, and also to understand the technology behind it. And another factor that we face as developing countries is when we are transitioning from high school to universities, normally our high school learnings are old traditional learnings. We have very limited technology involved in our high school classroom. So coming into university, especially USP, where we have a lot of advanced learning technologies involved. So I think that becomes a challenge, for the transition challenge to actually get used to, and actually come about in for the students to actually in the teaching and learning experience at the university. So another thing we've actually advocated, and actually our university has actually come up with, it's called a semester zero. Semester zero is a orientation. It's an online orientation where the freshers, the the first years, I think the course is about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So it's a crash course on how to use the university technologies and how to submit your assignments and how to go about on using the online platform for submitting your assignments, to accessing your notes, your collection notes, and also tips and how to access extra classes and stuff like that. So, excuse me. So we've been quite committed towards our advocacy on in quality education. Yeah, sorry, that's about all from my. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much, Ifraz. No problem about the connectivity, just so that our participants are aware. Unfortunately, Fiji is experiencing a bit of technical difficulties. I mean, we all are in the Pacific, of course. That's another problem we have, unfortunately. But thank you very much for trying to answer the question, Ifraz. I'm sure most of us heard you loud and clear. Thank you so much. The next question I'd like to direct is to Anna Malia once more. Anna Malia, you're currently pursuing a bachelor degree in law, which is similar to Chris's background as well. I'm wondering, now that you're actually pursuing a degree in law, have you found something that has actually something within your learning within the law degree or within your law background that has actually contributed to your effectiveness as an advocate?
Thank you for that question. And again, I hope that you all can hear me clearly still. And please do not hesitate to let me know if that's not the case. But yes, with the question given, I am indeed have finished my second year of law school at the University of the South Pacific at USB. I am, however, based here in our Tongan campus. So I am studying via online, which has its challenges as well. Funny enough, I was a science student all throughout high school. So when I made that change after I had finished high school, everyone was indeed surprised and had questioned my reasons for changing into law. I think a major part of that decision was based on my work, my advocacy journey, and just seeing how law is, the authority of laws is can heavily impact, a lot of things in society. And so I think the major reasons why I decided, and it wasn't an easy choice to make, I seek a lot of, advices from people who are in the field of science and who are also in the field of law, because I wanted to get it the first time right. And that was because I just didn't want to waste my parents' money, starting off with something and then finally coming into terms of what I really wanted to do. So, but one of the major reasons why I chose law is I really did see that there was a lot of gaps within the legislations that we have here in Tonga, but also in the Pacific. And I think that for me, and wanting to be a part in building and bridging those gaps was one of the main reasons why I decided to eventually study law. My education has really contributed a lot to my work as a youth advocate. I think one of the great examples of that contribution is that with the Litha project, we are looking towards starting a project that campaigns for a change in legislation for the age of marriage here in Tonga. At current, it is at 14 years of age. And we are in plans of starting a campaign to change that to 18 years of age. So I hope, that's one of a great example of how my education has contributed. And yeah, just being able to use those skills and the knowledges that, although I haven't completed my degree, I'm slowly learning a lot of things through the degree, and I'm hoping to incorporate those knowledge and skills into the upcoming projects that we have, not only within Talitha, but also with other organizations that I do work with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna Malia. Once again, beautifully answered. I think it's very important to note that the answer that Anna Malia gave is very important because it also highlights the societal issues that we face in the Pacific Islands, issues such as, child marriages, all of these things. And we can talk about the beauty of the Pacific Islands, but let's also talk about the sensitive things, hard conversations that might be difficult to talk about, but conversations that are like, we definitely need to have. Which is great. I also understand that, Chris, you have a background in law as well. Hopefully, when we come to you, you can also share a bit of insight as to what Anna Malia has also shared as well. The next question I have, however, is going to be for Nelson. Nelson, my question to you is in reference to cross-cultural engagement. So you recently, last year actually, you co-authored the authorship of the Lowy Institute Outcomes Report that focused on building the Australia PNG digital ecosystem. How do you see your cross-cultural engagement, especially in the digital realm, contribute to your goals for art activism PNG?
Thanks, Lobby, for that question. So as Lovanka mentioned, I was an emerging leader selected by the Lowy Institute through the Australia PNG network in 2022, and I had the privilege of participating in the Emerging Leaders Dialogue in Sydney, Australia last year. I represented the arts and culture sector. I joined 9 other emerging leaders from Papua New Guinea and 10 from Australia, spanning different sectors and industries. The central theme of our discussion during the 2022 dialogue was digital connectivity. The theme prompted us to delve into digital connectivity, digital technologies, and how we could enhance collaboration and connectivity between our 2 countries. The collaborative nature of the dialogue allowed us to share insights and perspectives from different sectors, as we all came from different sectors, which I thought really fostered a rich exchange of ideas. This cross-cultural engagement in the digital realm was particularly insightful as it highlighted the potential for technology to bridge gaps and strengthen connections between nations. As Lovenka mentioned, the result of our discussion was the outcomes report titled Building Australia PNG Digital Ecosystem. This report aimed to provide recommendations on leveraging digital connectivity to enhance various sectors, including the arts and culture sector that I represented. Now, how does this connect to the goals of art activism PNG and fostering global understanding? Well, as I mentioned previously, art activism operates at the intersection of 3 of my passions, which are storytelling, youth empowerment, and art, with a mission to harness the power of art for social change. In an increasingly interconnected world, I believe the digital realm becomes a powerful platform to amplify these messages and facilitate cross-cultural dialogue. I believe digital connectivity serves as a channel for sharing these diverse narratives and promoting cultural exchange and also fostering global understanding. So through art activism PNG, the digital space becomes a canvas to showcase the richness of Papua New Guinean culture and amplify the voices of young activists, as well as engage with a global audience. Also, the recommendations that I put forth in the outcomes report align with the goals of Art Activism PNG. They emphasize the role of digital platforms in creating collaborative spaces, enhancing cultural exchanges, and fostering connections between Australia and Papua New Guinea. So yeah, my participation in the Emerging Leaders Dialogue and my contribution to the outcomes report really highlighted the transformative potential of digital connectivity in bridging cultural gaps and fostering collaboration. I believe this aligns seamlessly with the objectives of Art Activism PNG as it leverages the digital realm to amplify its message and contribute to a more interconnected and culturally enriched world. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question, Lovanka. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much, Nelson. You definitely did answer my question. Once again, I'd like to note that, connectivity is a big part in the Pacific. We all, we place value on things like connections, relationships, and all. And as much as we'd love that to be, face-to-face physical connection, I think that the virtual connection between us Pacific Islanders and the world is something that we definitely need to lean more towards. So thank you, Nelson, for that. My next question goes to Bradley. Bradley, in your capacity, oh, pardon me, that's your other question. Bradley, your second question is, you served as the Pacific Student and Civil Society Organization rep at the Conference of Pacific Education Ministers meeting. Could you share a specific instance where you address the importance of freedom of speech and cultural diversity?
Thank you, Lovey. I think the Conference of Pacific Education Ministers meeting, it was one of the first to be held in New Zealand. It's been renamed to Conference of Pacific Education Ministers meeting, and that's so all our ministers of education come together from in and around the Pacific. And thankful enough, I was privileged to represent students as a CSO, civil society organization stakeholder in Auckland. So I was there for that meeting with New Zealand National Union of Students. And I was so thankful to actually get support from the president of the USB, Prof. Pal. I know Chris and Ifrays will be familiar with him, and those from USB, but he's been amazing as well in supporting students in and around the Pacific and engaging in those spaces. So he was very supportive of our engagement. And I think this was one of the first times that we actually got students at that ministerial level to actually engage with the ministers as they were shaping out regional education policy and our priorities as a Pacific people and within the context of the region. And I think that was a big win for students, especially in and around the Pacific, where in those level of discussions, students are left out. I also mentioned the Youth Advisory Board, which was formed just previously, and I'm going back to that again as well, but this is similar to that, but with a specific on education ministers at that level. So I think to answer your question, if I'm going to keep it brief, one was the win was that we had student representation at that level, support from all our education ministers who were present. And we also had New Zealand and Australia who were also present there as well. So I also got to present on resilience building around education, which was one of the roundtables prior to the plenary. So that was a big plus as well for young people and us bringing something to the table and contributing in these high-level discussions, which ultimately, like I said, shape the priorities around education within the region. And the discussions were very rich. I think with Pacific leaders especially, they don't really need to be reminded of the importance of cultural diversity. That's always something that's that's just there. If you're at any Pacific Island meeting, PIFs or Pacific Cooperation, if it can be in New Zealand as well. But because of the richness of our culture, that's something that it's unsaid and it's just there. In terms of freedom of speech as well, I don't want to go directly and answer. If I'm going to directly answer your question, sorry. Me being there and being a part of the table and freely expressing myself as well was a bonus as well. So I think me advocating for young people was the big plus, if I'm going to answer your question that way, was that stressing the importance, regardless of the cultural barriers, because the norms around Pacific people and young people is that, you have to come of a certain age, you must have a certain, profile, or you must be, have 10 years experience, have a big stomach, have a certain level of wealth or resources to actually matter, for your voice to matter. But as young people going to the table and contributing like that is like challenging the status quo and the cultural norms in the Pacific. So that's why I thought it was a very big win. Not directly in terms of freedom of speech, but the barriers that we have around our culture and the norms and it preventing us. Uh, yeah. So Benji, that's actually a thing in the Pacific with big stomachs. So um, especially in and around PNG. So oh my goodness, I've been stopped. Have I? Yeah. So I think that was one of the big wins from the Conference of Pacific Education Ministers meeting. And I hope that into the future, because we've taken this step, that we have more young people and student representation at the Conference of Pacific Education Ministers meeting, because in the context of education and students being key stakeholders in the Pacific, that's not something that we take into consideration. So yeah, and I think, like I said, sorry, things are popping up, so that's why I'm stopping here and there. But being there for that meeting and actually sitting at the table with ministers, with development partners, you had UNESCO regional partners and bodies that which you think are so huge in the Pacific, but you as a young person sitting at the table and contributing was a big win. And I think our Pacific leaders are starting to see the importance of the contribution that young people can make. I know that there's a lot of young people who are championing the cause for climate action in the Pacific. We've taken them to the world courts, and that started from USP Vanuatu and so on and so forth. So the climate warriors. So the impact that young people can make, you can't dismiss that. And I think with our cultural norms in the Pacific, young people, especially students, you're more privileged, I would say, with respect to youths, with the level of education that you're given, and then the status that you also gain as an educated elite of some sort, young people in the Pacific. So I feel like there's a level of responsibility there as well, but leaders are also starting to recognize the importance in the Pacific. But going back to your question specifically, Pacific leaders know the importance of cultural diversity and culture when it comes to these sort of discussions. And I don't think they need to be reminded. With freedom of speech, I think with young people, our specific barrier is one around the norms that we have and when you can speak, those sort of things. But, we need to address that with a level of respect as well. And in these sort of open discussions, like in those spaces with the decision makers, whether it's in regard to policy or you're at a workshop, you have to engage freely and speak your mind, because what young people bring to the table is very different, and it's needed. So thank you. I hope I answered that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bradley. I definitely think you answered that very well. I think one thing we can all definitely agree on is that as student activists, we definitely try to find the gray area between cultural sensitivity and, advocating as young people. Where do we draw the line? Where do our forefathers before us, where do our elders before us draw the line and say, hey, you're not allowed to speak, but when do we stand up to say something? And I think that's a challenge that we do face all across the Pacific. And I'm glad that Bradley mentioned his experience in New Zealand, where students were able to actually, hold their leaders accountable. And I'm sure that's something that we all want to see one day in our own respective countries. Before we move on, I will be asking your last round of questions, our panelists. I'll be asking your last round of questions as it's getting late, and unfortunately we cannot continue this wonderful dialogue for too long. But yeah, and then after our last round of questions, I'll give a chance to the audience to ask you questions. And if the audience doesn't want to ask you questions, don't worry, I have a lot more questions for you. So the next question goes to Chris. Chris, you also, like Nelson, you also have a passion for art. You said that you've posted many poems online on social media as the president for USPSA, but you've also had some privately to yourself. How do you use poetry as a form of expression and activism?
Thank you, Lavenka. So this, for context, I started writing poems as a hobby. I realized that I just like writing stuff down, and then I would write down whole heaps of lines, and then afterwards I would like put them together and organize them in a way that it can make sense. And for many years, I did not share it with anyone. I thought that, people would laugh at it, or that people might think, oh, what kind of poem is that? But then not knowing that my poems, what it matters is that what it means to me, and then how or what people might think of it, that's up to them. Art is very subjective. It is not objective. It's up to you to define it, to describe it. I will put it out there, but it's up to you how you relate to it and how you can describe it and how it touched you. So when I got into this position, I started sharing poems as the USPSA president first. And I got really good feedback about that. And, I see that I write about a lot of things. I write about, public holiday days. I write about public figures in Tonga, in Nauru, people I'm inspired by. I write about events that happen in my life. Little things like that. And when I post them, you get one or two comments, and it's really good feedback. And they're saying, oh, this actually reminds me of this, or this has made me realize, oh, this is good for me in this way. And which takes me back actually to, I think there is a saying, I'm not sure who it is, but the saying goes, if there's 100 people in a room and they don't listen, but if one person in over that 100 listens, that's enough. So I also write poems now. The recent one, I'll read one after this. The recent one that I wrote was about a historical site here in Nauru. I visited this site. It's called the Makwa Cave. Nauru here is very beautiful. It's like paradise, the peacefulness of this country. It's just amazing. And one of my friends took me there. So I've only been here for 3 or 4 years now. And this was the first time I went recently this year. And when I entered the cave, I just felt this sense of, I don't think I'm supposed to be in this cave, because it was so beautiful. It was, it felt sacred. It felt like I did not deserve to be in this cave at all, because who am I to come in and enjoy this beauty and look at, like, observe. It's one day when everyone comes to Nauru, I'll take it there myself. But I wrote, and it's in a way because I thought, what, people need to know, not just the locals know it already, but if I can post this was a personal poem I wrote. If I can tell people how beautiful and amazing how I felt when I go in, maybe, they'll keep preserving it. They'll keep making sure that this historical site stays, because for many countries, once in a while, once the historical site or the attraction no longer, makes sense, then they definitely just don't care about the site anymore. But this one here, I was really passionate about it. And without further explaining things, I'll just read you the poem, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. So I call this poem Nawero Makwa. In Nauru's heart, a hidden gem lies, a wondrous Kevin, a mystic surprise, a Kamawet to Makwa, where secrets reside, a realm of wonder where time seems to hide. Beneath the ground, in whispers untold, lies a tale of nature, precious and bold, a sanctuary of solitude, a sacred space, where echoes of the past leave a lingering trace. Step into Mekwa, the ancient cave's embrace, where life hangs like nature's lace. Glistening droplets dance from the ceiling high, a symphony of nature, an enchanting lullaby. The walls bear witness to the island's tale, etched with stories like ancient frail. A canvas of history, a tapestry of old, unwearying stories never before told. Sparkling crystals, a celestial sight, illuminating the darkness, casting radiant light, as if the stars descended from the night sky to guide weary travelers as they pass by. Lost in time, Makwa stands steadfast, a testament to nature's art, unsurpassed. Its fragile beauty, a gift to behold, a treasure of Nauru, a story untold. So, wanderer, step into this sacred space, feel the ancient whispers, and embrace their grace. Let Makwa envelop you in its mystical lore, and leave your spirit forever changed, forevermore. Thank you. So that's the poem that I wrote. And I hope that, if people read this for years to come, or just maybe today or tomorrow, they'll get a sense of how precious sites like this is to the people and to the country, and for whoever is probably thinking of visiting this sacred place. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was a wonderful poem, and so great to hear someone else's perspective on art as well. I can see Nelson is on the edge of his seat because, this is something that you and him share very commonly. And I'm sure he'll have something to add on to that when it gets to his turn to answer a question as well. For now, we'll move on to Ifraz. Ifraz, I have your last question here for you, and it's on freedom of speech and participation. I want to ask, your tenure as vice president involved forming a lot of partnerships, such as the one with the Fijian Red Cross Society, as well as the balance of power. How do you perceive your role of student associations in actually promoting that freedom of speech and expression on campus?
Hello. Thank you for the question, Wabanka. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, can hear you loud and clear. Thank you, Frag.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'll just dive right into it. I'll pick it up from where Bradley left, and just on the same subject of freedom of speech, especially contextualizing the young people of the Pacific. Yes, there's a lot of cultural barriers which linked towards freedom of speech, actually. And something like which I've noticed early on in my career as a youth leader is that being in that diverse being influenced to that diverse culture at my campus at USP, where I'm influenced and I'm surrounded by many cultures, many people from the different backgrounds from all over the South Pacific. And there were certain things which I could speak about, but my friends from Tonga, Samoa, just an example, they wouldn't be able to talk about. And it seemed quite surprising for me because as an Indo-Fijian, we've like growing up, my family, they've taught us that you always stand against injustice. You speak out against injustice. And I think that's where, early on in my life, I've learned about, criticizing the status quo on things that don't go our way. And but when looking at my other counterparts, my other student leader counterparts, especially from the other Pacific Island countries, they don't share the same privileges which I have. And then that's where I learned that we need to create safe spaces and we need to help each other in voicing out on certain issues. So some of the things which we did at Lodala campus actually, and also involving our partners like Fiji Red Cross and Balance of Power. Balance of Power is an organization funded by Australian Aid, which advocates on women in leadership. That's something like women in leadership. It's a very complex discussion, especially relating to Pacific Islanders. So yeah, like I was saying early on, I've realized that we need to create safe spaces for the underprivileged student leaders who can't speak up against their elders. So in creating these safe spaces, we share information, and the information we get, we help channel those informations to the relevant authorities. We take the voices of the underprivileged, of the underprivileged, and we channel it to the right places. And we've actually seen progress. We've actually seen success in that. And relating to our campuses around the Pacific, many of our friends, student leaders, they haven't been able to voice out on certain issues and stuff. So I think that's where we come along. And forging partnerships with organizations has actually assisted our student leaders, and also the ordinary students in upskilling their qualities. For student leaders, some of the upskilling qualities, can relate to negotiations, can relate to dialogues, can also relate to networking. And this also provides a platform for the ordinary students. I can give you an example. Back in August, mid-August, USPSA hosted the USAID ambassador to the South Pacific, and we hosted this high-level dignitary at the Lodala campus, and this was a purely student-led initiative. We had a moderator moderating the dialogue, and this gentleman was a third-year journalism student. So we created that safe space for students, by having a moderator that that they feel safe around. And when we give the safe spaces to students, they actually, they are free to express, and that's when we actually see what's actually going on. So, I think if you'd like to take some ideas from what I said, and I think the most important thing we need to do as student leaders is to actually create safe spaces for our students. Yeah, I think that's all about it from my end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ifraz. I like that you actually touched on that, creating a safe space for our students, which is actually something that we definitely need to do with all the cultural sensitivity that we have in our region. I'm just gonna say quickly, we're gonna end our live at 10:55 p.m. my time. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what time it is on all of your ends. But yeah, just let's just rush through the questions, and unfortunately we won't be able to get in audience questions. However, let's not let that stop us. Let's move straight into the next question. Anna Malia, your last question, the last question that I have for you is in relation to your impact of the Pacific Girl Program. I know we all talked a lot about the problems that we have in the Pacific, but I would love for you to actually share a specific success story or a moment where you witnessed witness the positive impact of this program on the life of a young Pacifica woman? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, Lavanka. And yeah, being mindful of time, I will try to keep my answer within under a minute. But yes, in terms of the Pacific Girl program, just a quick background on what the Pacific Girl program is. The Pacific Girl program is one of amongst many programs under the Pacific Women Lead program. And Pacific Women Lead is managed under SPC. It is a $107 million commitment by the Australian government to the Pacific to advance gender equality. So we have various programs under Pacific Women Lead, which include balance of power, like Mohammed had mentioned before, but also the Pacific Girl program. The Pacific Girl program, like its name, it's the only regional program focused on adolescent girls, more importantly, in terms of advancing their rights and opportunities. And it was designed back in 2018 and has been running these past 5 to 6 years. There is 6 partners under this program, which include partners from countries such as Chuk and FSM. We have Fiji, PNG, Solomon Islands, and Vanuatu, as well as Tonga. So in my relation to Pacific Girl, I was amongst the group of girls that came together in 2018 to actually design what this program looks like. And I think with the Talitha project and the Pacific Girl, we have our project called the My Body, My Rights program for our young adolescent girls. And I think in terms of success, I can say with very much confidence that the program is very successful, most especially in terms of transitioning young girls into leaders. And I say that with confidence because I am living proof of it as well. Having been a participant in one of the Pacific Girl program, then eventually becoming a mentor, and now moving into decision-making spaces and being a youth rep in the Pacific Women Lead Governance Board is a clear example of some of that successes. But it's not only just myself. I have seen many amazing young women who have journeyed through the program and are making meaningful changes in their communities and in their countries. It might not be big changes, but they're definitely making their mark. And being a mentor for the Talitha project, I have the opportunity of being able to run some of the empowerment sessions for young girls, and these are on topics such as confidence. It's on topics such as cyberbullying. It's on topics such as financial literacy, which are all education sessions that we have that are on topics that are not normally educated in formal education. But just being able to see the meaningful changes that the program has in the lives of young girls and helping them become more confident as they become more knowledgeable about various subjects that includes climate change and disaster response, and how to better prepare for cyclones and various other natural disasters that we experience here in the Pacific. Is, I think, to me, that's one of the greatest success of this program. And I hope that answers your question. And I also would like to thank you again for the opportunity to be a part of the panel. And thank you again to my fellow panelists for all the meaningful contributions that they have done. I have greatly learned a lot from all the contributions that have been made tonight. And I would like to stay connected to everyone. And malo abito once again.
Thank you very much. Wonderfully answered, and thank you very much for sharing the stories of Pacifica women, not just in Tonga, and actually focusing on something that the greater region and the other women in other Pacific Islanders need as well, especially touching on informal education, which is, I think, something that's very important. I'll move on to our next panelist, Nelson. I know you've been waiting since hearing what Chris had to say, which is very exciting. We have two passionate art activists here with us. And Nelson, my question to you is about art, specifically art as a catalyst. Now, you mentioned that you use art to address issues such as mental health throughout art activism PNG. I want you to actually elaborate on, the specific projects or initiatives that you have with art activism PNG that you think have effectively contributed to raising awareness or addressing issues like mental health, as you've stated.
Thanks, Lovey. First of all, Chris, I mean, amazing. That was, I didn't know if you saw me, but I was clicking my fingers. I love that. That was really powerful and very touching as well. I myself am a writer. I'm not as good as Lovanka. Lovanka is such an amazing writer. But I do poetry as well, and I resonated with your story because I myself never shared any of my poetry until just last year. So I'm more of a dancer and singer than I am a poet. So, but that was amazing. That was really, really beautiful, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you after this and just talking more about art and using art as a tool for advocacy. Now coming back to the question, so one of our key initiatives at Art Activism PNG is focused on addressing mental health, and that is our flagship project known as Art Activism, the Art Activism Night Project. This project serves as a powerful platform where our art activists unite to shed light on various social and political issues. So yeah, the Art Activism Night Project, I believe, is an immersive experience, and that you see all our artists collaboratively tackle the complexities of mental health through various art types. We have our artists taking the stage to express themselves through performances by dance, through singing, through slam poetry, each using their unique talents to convey messages of empathy, of understanding, and I think of encouragement as well. And then simultaneously, we have a foyer section where we turn into an exhibition space for all our talented painters and photographers to showcase their work, providing a more of a visual narrative that delves into the nuances of mental health. So through this multifaceted approach, we aim to engage our audience on a deep and emotional level, fostering a connection that transcends traditional awareness campaigns. Beyond artistic performances and exhibitions, the Art Activism Night Project also provides a supportive and an inclusive environment where we encourage open discussion and conversations about mental health and other social and political issues, aiming to break down stigmas and foster a sense of community. This immersive nature of event allows our attenders to not only witness the artistic expressions, but also actively participate in the dialogue surrounding mental health. So by leveraging the emotional impact of art, the Art Activism Night Project effectively contributes to raising awareness and addressing mental health issues. Like I said, it goes beyond conventional awareness campaigns. It creates an immersive experience that encourages empathy, understanding, and meaningful conversations. So yeah, through this initiative, we continue to strive to destigmatize mental health, and we hope that we continue to promote well-being and create a space where individuals feel seen and heard and supported. So yes.
Thank you very much, Nelson. I'm glad that we got to talk about art and not just all the serious stuff. I'm not trying to diminish it too much, but I'm glad that we were able to hear some of the perspectives of art as well. Thank you, Chris, for sharing that wonderful poem. It was so powerful. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have to wrap all of this up, so I'm going to have one last question, and that's going to be for Bradley. Bradley, I know you have a lot to say, and we'd love to listen to what you have to say, but I'm going to ask you to keep it short. My final question to you is that I'd like for you to actually share with your experience of connecting the Pacific region to like global issues and agendas. I want you to actually share with us what are the issues or challenges that we as a Pacific region face when we're trying to connect with the rest of the world.
Sorry, Lovey, can you ask the question again?
All good. My question to you is that with your experience in communicating the Pacific Islands agenda to the rest of the world, I'd like for you to share with us some of the issues or challenges that you feel the Pacific Island has when communicating their agendas with global agendas, or finding the, how can I say, finding the similarity between them or so.
Right. Thank you for that question. I don't know how I can keep that short. I'm trying to piece it together in my head, but I think with linking, if I'm on the right track, the issues in and around the Pacific to that of, I guess, that in a global context. I think one key issue, and that is the one that Pacific Islands are championing, would be climate change. And I feel like the student movement can mobilize a lot more better than other young people and youth groups can. And there's a lot of, I guess, empowerment there that's already there with the student groups. So I feel like that's one tool, and for students to come together on that issue. But there's a lot of with education and students. Education is, like I said, an issue or an agenda that's cross-cutting, and then touches on all spaces: youth, entrepreneurship, digitalization, climate, whatever it may be. But I feel like, I always say I feel like, because that's what I think. Young people in the Pacific, in the context of the Pacific, and with a specific focus on education and the student movement in the Pacific, it needs to get going. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. That there is a lot of potential for the students in the Pacific to mobilize and address a lot of issues, and those issues are similar and connected to global issues like climate. So students, especially within the institutions in and around the Pacific, need to come together, because education connects us. So yay, I've kept it short. Very difficult to keep that question short.
Thank you very much, Bradley. Thank you so much. I can see that Nelson has also entered his contact details into the chat. If everyone can do that, that would be so great. We'd love to stay connected with you all. But it looks like we have come to the end of our panel discussion. It was so productive. It was absolutely wonderful. And I'm so grateful to hear all your perspectives on what you're doing at each corner of the region. It's amazing, amazing work that you've all been doing. And I can't say thank you enough, honestly. I hope to keep this going. I hope we have further events in the future that we can talk about more things, and we could hopefully hear more from Chris with his poetry, and Ifraz with his background in civil engagement, and Anna Malia with your background in women empowerment. It's so great, all so great. Thank you so much. Thank you also to Benjamin for allowing us to have this platform through the Commonwealth Students Association. It was absolutely wonderful having you all on board. We will be sending an email out to you all just to have a evaluation of our event, as well as any feedback that you'd like to give to us, positive or negative. But apart from that, it was also great, like we say in Papua New Guinea, once a water, and it truly feels that way. We all share one ocean, and it was such an honor to be here with all of you. If you have anything to say, Benjamin, please do add on. Thank you.
Thank you, Lovanka, and to the panelists. Let me tell you, in my estimation, whatever the feedback form says, this was an absolute success. Hearing the voices of students from the Pacific is what we wanted for today. We want you to be an integral part of the network that covers Asia, Africa, the Caribbean. I'm from Jamaica. I'm in the Caribbean, the Pacific, and Europe. We want to do more with students in the Pacific. So look out, and as long as you respond, as long as you cooperate, we want to work with you. We want to showcase what you do. We want to amplify the advocacy that is taking place on the ground. And I'm looking forward. Also, I just have to give my highest commendations to Bradley Yombam-Kopio, who is the regional representative in the region. He has been doing excellent work, and I lift several hats to him. And you, Lavanka, you have done extremely well. You were appointed as the co-chair of the International Students' Day Planning Committee, and I know the challenges that you faced, but you surmounted all of them, and we have hosted a successful activity. So thank you very much and congratulations. That's it from me.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. Thank you very much, everyone. I know we all have a lot to say. This is such good vibes we're getting from everyone, which is so great. But I'll be sure to exchange emails with you all or messages with you all on anything following up on that. Please feel free to send, I know I listed my contact details when I sent an email out. Please do feel free to send me a text if email is more convenient for you. Feel free to send me a text if you want to follow up on any Commonwealth Students Association events. We want to see more of the Pacific in here, so that's so great. Thank you once again, and I'll call this meeting to an end. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you have a great night, and please get some rest. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Everybody.
Good
Bye,
night.
everyone.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Sleep well.
Good to meet you all.
Yeah, let's stay
Yes,
connected
good to
on our
meet you
socials.
all.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Lavanka, for the opportunity. Thank you for
Thank you so
moderating
much.
this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ifraz. Thank you.
All right. Bye. You have a good one. Bye.
Bye.